Hello and welcome back to my channel. I have a mail haul and then also a thrift store haul. As the thrift stores and stuff started opening up, we went to the Restore the other day to get some furniture. They're having a 50% sale, and so amazingly their books were also 50% off. So their books are usually 50 cents, which is incredible, and so they're like 25 cents now, which is basically free. I got like 9 books and it cost me $2. It's amazing. So yeah, just get started. This is kind of very indicative of where I am as a reader at the moment, all over the place. And yeah, get started. So actually, I'm going to group the first two together. The first two are basically both written about the two books written pretty much about this on the same subject matter. So first off, we have Race and Class in the Age of Trump by Asad Haider. And secondly, we have Toward Freedom, The Case Against Race Reductionism by Tori F. Reed. And basically, these are both discussing about, mainly about how is race or class more important or separate, or do they need to be talked about separately or together? And I think they both kind of argue that essentially the best that either it's impossible to do one without the other. It's possible to just have a revolution that, like, against racism and not deal with social economic influences, and that basically the only change can only really occur if everybody from the lower classes, but working class in particular, are have the collective struggle. It's essentially something I'm quite interested in and quite sympathetic to, and the more of the collective mass struggle than lots of tiny individual struggles, like the individual struggles. Because I just feel like you have much more strength in numbers, and there's a lot of it's kind of like the same people are oppressing, and it's better for them if we are divided. But yeah, I'd be very interested to read them. But I'm probably going to read them both back to back just to see if the arguments are slightly different or the same, or just how they differ. They're both very scholarly. They're both so well. I'll read the little blurbs. Asad Haider is a founding editor of Viewpoint magazine, an investigative journal of contemporary politics. He is a PhD candidate in the history of consciousness at UC Santa Cruz and a member of UAW 2865, the Student Workers Union at the University of California. And then Tori F. Reed is a professor of 20th century U.S. and Afro-American history at Illinois State University. He has published in Catalyst, the Journal of American Ethnic History, Labor, Nonsite.org, Jacobin, The Nation, The New Republic, and Black Agenda Report. His other book, Not Alms but Opportunity, Urban League and Politics of Racial Uplift, 1910 to 1950, I'm also very interested in that, to see if I can find that too. And they're both from Verso Books, who started in the 70s, I believe, is the New Left, and they basically books concerning radical left politics and just left politics in general. Actually, not all of their books are necessarily radical, but I'm more interested in the radical aspects of the books they publish. As we'll see with the next two, is we have Romance of American Communism. This is a classic reprint of a classic text by Vivian Gornick. Oh, Gorick, sorry. Yeah, Gornick. Vivian Gornick. It was a book published in the 1970s, and it really looks at kind of the golden age, I say, of American communism, which was like the 20s and 30s, especially during the New Deal as well. There was lots of well, basically during the Great Depression, and then thusly the New Deal. There's a lot of people who were looking at how easily and how quickly America just left behind swathes of people when there was depression, and how they looked towards communism as a way to solve the society's problems at the times, and then really then goes into this kind of disintegration of communism in America, mainly probably through Stalin sorry, it's very, very beautiful. Verso make very nice books. So yeah, but basically how Stalin coming to power in USSR and really being a tyrant really drove a lot of people away from communism through into in the 40s and 50s, and also really another like the World War II really had a obviously Russia initially sided with Nazi Germany, then only when they were attacked by Hitler did they go against him again, and there was massive massive propaganda in America and the West about against communism in general, and then obviously the House of Un-American Activities Committee in the 50s really kind of ended any form of communism in America. It just really became very underground, and I think nowadays now though there is a resurgence in people studying about communism, and I think as much as the right in America labels people like Bernie Sanders as communist, I think it's just going to drive people even more interested in it. So I think it's kind of like, I know they're trying to like disparage and scaremonger people, but I think actually it's going to just like drive more people to actually read about what actual communism is. So that's I'm very excited that they republished this. This one is very, very much on the zeitgeist right now, policing the planet. There was a couple of books that Verso have, and I think this is actually a free ebook now, along with Alex Vitale's policing End of Policing, Alex Vitale's End of Policing, which basically sets out kind of what defunding the police is and how it works. But I think End of Policing is very much focused on America, whereas this is the whole world, and it's more of an anthology of essays, and it draws across the world of activists and experts. I think one of the leading police experts is actually a police chief in Korea, I believe. Just how police, basically it's like what the policing crisis led to Black Lives Matter, and I think it just really goes into reform and what policing could look like, what law and order could look like if it was more of a human touch rather than kind of just a crackdown on everything. So yeah, I'm very interested in reading this. Another Verso book. Again, very sturdy, lovely books. But yeah, it's all very left-wing politics, so it doesn't appeal to a lot of people, but very much appeals to me. And then on with the Thrift books. Got T.H. White's The Goshawk. I think Steve Donahue was talking about this very recently. Yeah, really good. But if you like Helen MacDonald's H is for Hawke, then you'll probably like this too. It's just talking about his experience of trying to train a goshawk. Yeah, just how that human-animal relationship and have respect for another living being, but that's not human. And yeah, just great study in general. I haven't actually read this before, but this is a great, really good quality old Penguin modern classic, and it's good, but it's actually in really good shape too. This is essentially free because we were at this antiques second-hand store that we bought a bunch of other stuff, so I think just threw it in for free, which is really nice. Another actual modern classic. This is more modern of the modern classics. This is a book I actually had probably about 10 years ago. I had this exact copy actually. It's Patrick Hamilton's Hangover Square, and it's set in 1939, and it's set in the saloons and bars and drinking culture in London, UK, and it's really focused on a few people, and it's quite satiric as well as quite dark. If you don't know Patrick Hamilton, he also wrote the plays Gaslight and Rope, which were both made into multiple movies. So you probably have seen his work and know a bit about him, but this is maybe not the one that people don't know as much, but probably his most successful book, maybe. But yeah, it's very good. I have actually read it. I did actually read this 10 years ago. But it'd be nice to read again. I don't know, and it's got a bit of discoloration and stuff, so I don't know how if I will keep it. It doesn't smell though. Very important to smell the books if you're gonna buy books from thrift stores, just to make sure it doesn't smell like moldy. And if it does smell moldy, you still want it. Just don't put it in your bookshelf. Just keep it isolated, quarantine it. There have been some books where if you gotta pay 25 cents for a book, I've just like read it and thrown it out. Just because like some books you'll never see again. So it's good to read. But yeah, very. It does have a bit of a kind of. I think it has a murder in it, and it does kind of have you're kind of inside the suspected murderer's head for a lot of the time too. So it does have that kind of vibe to it, but it is also just a really good. It's a really good portrait of two things: London drinking culture during the late 30s, and also of a just the kind of people and a nation dealing with the spectre of fascism right across Europe. Like Hitler was elected in 33, so it's like fascism is pretty much spread across Europe, but it's also like imminent expecting for war anytime, so it's just kind of like people grappling with that as well. So yeah, it's a really good book. If you ever get a chance to read it, definitely read it. Next up, just a general, probably my first Penguin classic that I've remember buying, at least the first one I have here. Geoffrey Chaucer's Canterbury Tales. Studied part of it in school. I imagine they were watered down kiddie versions of the tales, but only a couple tales. I remember very little of it, but I've never read the whole thing all the way through. I'll probably at some point just pick a tale and read it, and then put it down for weeks, and then pick it up again and pick up another tale. But yeah, very interested in that. This is a nice hardback, 25 cents, amazing. So it's Empire of Illusion, the end of literacy and the triumph of spectacle. I don't really know much about it, but from what I imagine, it's basically just dealing with how people kind of just don't read as much, and how, I mean, I think it's quite old because they're talking about Jerry Springfield, but it's basically how kind of TV, and not just any TV, but just like mindless TV is kind of taking over as the go-to entertainment rather than literature and non-fiction books. So yeah, be very interested to see what their central argument of that is. Got a great another one in my James A. Missioner hunt. This is The Source. I think it's set in the Middle East. Don't know too much about it. I've got a few of them now. Also, yeah, very inspired by it, like Bill Rutenberg. If you don't know his channel, check it out. He's also got acquiring these and reading them. And Steve Donahue's a big fan too. But for some reason, where I'm in Canada, they're everywhere. I see them all the time. So I'm just trying to acquire as many as I want. I have this one, Poland, Hawaii, and I'm not sure what that's actually, but yeah, they're huge though, so I don't know when I'm gonna get the chance to read them, but I'm interested in them. Next up, we have the 50 Years War. This is obviously dealing with Israel and Palestine. This book is based on the TV series, BBC TV series. And yeah, just I'm very interested in Israel and Palestine in the Middle East. I don't know a ton of the history of it and the wars and stuff, but you recognize a lot of these people. But I think it's very important to read about this, and I'm just really getting properly into reading. And yeah, I can't. I mean, if it was based on a BBC series, I imagine that BBC series was probably annoyingly level-headed and both sides, and it's all kind of a bit messed up. But yeah, very interested. And the main thing I know about Israel is Britain really kind of messed up everybody in that sense. the Balfour Affair and all that. But that's another story for another day. This is my ongoing kind of delving into the politics of Canada. This is Mulrooney, The Politics of Ambition by John Swatsky. Don't know a ton about any of the prime ministers of Canada, but I do know a little bit about Mulrooney. He was conservative. He was I think the first conservative prime minister for 26 years, and also one of maybe like 2 or 3 conservatives that conservative prime ministers have ever been elected into prime ministership in Canada. And he was very popular. I think he broke records of how many votes he got, and also his biggest I guess policies and things he did in his prime ministership were he did a lot of economic reforms. So he really he was the prime minister from 84 to 93, I believe, and so it was kind of like crisscrossed with Reagan and Thatcher in the US and UK respectively, and so he really was part of the neocon liberalization of the economies, introduced a lot of free trade deals and stuff. Yeah, and that's pretty much what I know, but apparently this does deal with his inadequacies as well as any successes, which is great because I don't know if I'd want to read or I'd be happy. I would read, but I don't know if I'd be happy to read a kind of hagiography of a conservative prime minister. But so basically, weirdly, that I only have 2 prime minister biographies right now, and they are both conservatives. I have Mulrooney and I have one from Diefenbaker, about Diefenbaker. The Diefenbaker one apparently is scathing though. And I think this was published at the end of his prime ministership. Yeah, 91, I think. Yeah, 91. So it was right at the end. So that's quite good. Next one up, I guess. I think it's another political. Yeah, it's The Life and Times of Dalton Kemp. The player, The Life and Times of Dalton Kemp by Jeffrey Stevens. No idea. Don't know anything about Dalton Kemp, but apparently he was one of Canada's best-known political analysts. So that'd be very interesting to see what he has to say. Yeah, this 25 cents. What you can say. It won the Writers' Trust of Canada Drainey Taylor Biography Prize winner. So, it's obviously a good book. People thought it was a good book, and it'll be interesting to read it. 25 cents. You can't really go wrong. And then, last but not least, this is one definitely inspired by Peg at the History Shelf. If you don't know the History Shelf and you love history and nonfiction, check her out for sure. She's incredible. But this is Into the Silence, The Great War, Mallory, and The Conquest of Everest by Wade Davis, an incredible historian. And 25 cents, this hardback. It's got the deckled edges. It's got the great dust jacket still intact. Yeah, it's right in my wheelhouse. I'm very obsessed with the modern era, like the late Victorian stages into the 1950s, early 1960s. It's really an era I'm very interested in, all aspects of life. Mallory climbing Everest was one of the greatest feats of mankind in exploration. It's one of the greatest feats. That's there's mountains now that have been climbed by less people than people have gone on Everest, but at the time it was very much of a great endeavor, and there'd been numerous attempts that were all failures. But actually, he was fortunate in that I think it was the Nepalese path had been opened, whereas previously that wasn't open up. That's a much easier route than other people had tried to take. So yeah, been very interested to read this. I don't don't know which one I'll read first, but I was very excited to see this, and for 25 cents, that is incredible. But yeah, that's all. That's it. It was a great little book haul there, and very thankful for the thrift stores, because being able to get books for 25 cents means I can also then pay $20-$30 for the new one. So yeah, it'll evens out nicely. And yeah, so be excited to read that. Any thoughts about these books? Leave below. Otherwise, I'll see you soon. Bye.